So welcome everyone to this timeline shifting new moon in Cancer. And so I want to first start out with, I got this really interesting email today, and it was like, I really love this theory, right? This theory of timeline shifting and this theory of astrology. And so I want to actually like speak to that for a second before we get into anything, because I think it's a really powerful thing to understand. People are like, is astrology real? Well, Dr. Tony Nader, who is was an MIT professor in 1994, wrote a book about the human physiology, and he discovered that the human body had counterparts to the major planets and the star constellations. He actually won an award for this in 1998. He mapped out that the planets and the stars have corresponding structures in our brain, in our cells, and in the DNA molecules. So whether you believe astrology is real or not, you are a microcosm of the macrocosm, and these things are affecting us in a massive amount of way. And when it comes to timeline shifting, which I will get into a little bit later, and I'm not going to get deep into the science behind it, but I am going to share a little bit of the theory of timeline shifting and how quantum science has proven that we have multiple timelines and how that works together. So I wanted to just like throw that in there for those of you that are like, hey, is this stuff really real? How does this thing work? What are we really doing in this? Because what we're going to be diving in today is two things. We're going to first go over the astrology that's going on in the world right now and how that is affecting you, because the astrology is in you. And then we're going to talk about, and the reason we're doing timeline work and timeline shifting now is for two reasons. One, because the astrology is showing us that we are working through timeline shifts, both collectively, planetarily, and personally. So Mother Gaia, which our planet Earth is a conscious entity, is actually going through its own timeline shift, a dimensional shift from our 3D into a 5D experience. And we ourselves are going through these timeline shifts. And so we want to understand, how can I use this? How can I take this journey and really make a powerful shift in my life? And I'm going to give you some powerful examples of timeline shifts between myself and my clients that I will tell you afterwards are going to, one, shock you, but two, make you a believer, to the point of where without surgery, I'm talking about plastic surgery, and I'm not talking about weight loss, that we have seen people have actual physical shifts that biometrics we're able to notice, right? So there's some powerful things, and I'm going to give you some other examples and stuff. So stay tuned for that later. We're going to talk about that. And also, before we get in, I want you to stay till the end for a timeline journey and a special offer to get a free, from me, your personalized 2024 intuitive astrological reading and personalized quantum frequency audio for the second half of the year. I only have a few of those spots available, and you're only going to be able to get it on this call, and I'm going to tell you how you can get that from me. So let's dive into the astrology for today. So this month, the luminaries meet in the lunar domicile. What does that mean? That means that the water sign of Cancer is both the sun and in the moon right now. So the cardinal sign, which was Cancer, is a yin sign. It is a water sign. It relates to our emotions, our vulnerability, our needs, and it is the mother of the zodiac. It is also my birth sign and my rising sign. So it is my birthday month. And so I am, as a cardinal sign of a Cancer, and being a mother of the zodiac, I'm very much a mothering person. I am also very much emotions and water. And so you can start to see and understand how these things work with us. What we also have going on right now is we have Saturn and Neptune that are in retrograde in another water sign, Pisces. So we're going to dive into understanding what that really means. But Saturn is about our karmic lessons. It's about teaching us about our authority and our responsibility. And it represents our 3D reality and our limitations, as well as where we must get stronger, face challenges, develop discipline. And Saturn is the lord of time and karma. So again, timelines, that's where he is the Lord of time. He is seen as the timekeeper of the Zodiac. And he invites us to grow up and take responsibility for our actions and and for how we invest our time and energy into the things that we love and want to create. This really powerful piece that allows us to understand that we have, if we're using time, if we're using Saturn, and we're also going to talk about the North Node and the South Node, and how that has to do with our times, is that we can use this power to do timeline shifting. So for those of you that are kind of like curious about what is timeline shifting, it's also known as quantum jumping, because it is a quantum reality experience. It's a powerful practice that involves us navigating and aligning with different potential realities. So each timeline represents a unique path. It's filled with its own experiences, its own challenges, and opportunities. But we can consciously choose and shift to a more desirable timeline. Yet, by doing that, when we shift, there has to be something that anchors us in that experience to keep us there. And so think of a timeline kind of like this. I call it the elevator theory. So when you go to a hotel, you go to those fancy hotels and you get a hotel key card, and it only lets you on the floor that you get to go on when you go into the elevator. So you take your key card and you go, and it's like floor 3. So I go up and I'm on floor 3. Now I have all the decorations, all of the way that floor 3 of my hotel looks like. But I know that there's a floor 2 and a floor 5 and a floor 6, and maybe there's a pool on one of the other floors, but it looks totally different, right? Well, that is exactly how it works in quantum reality. You have quantum codes that you've put onto your key card, and your quantum codes are the way that you vibrate, your creations, the way that you experience the world are on your code. And when you step into the quantum elevator, it is taking you to your floor experience. So if your quantum codes take you to floor number 3, then you are going to be stuck on floor number 3, even though floors 2, 4, 5, and 6 exist somewhere in time and space. And maybe somebody else that even though they see you in real time, is living on a different floor than you. The reality is literally different than the reality that you're experiencing. This is why we see such diversity in opinions and conspiracy theories and all of these things that are going on right now, because we have Mother Gaia shifting into a new timeline, and us ourselves on different co-creation experience is in this multidimensional thing. And so we have people living different realities within the same thing. And so that's why we should never judge someone for where they're at in their belief systems and what's happening, because for them it is very, very real. So this is just a piece of that. So the new moon in Cancer, it begins our cycle of deepening our emotional self-knowledge and our awareness of our core needs. And this offers us an opportunity to mother ourselves and our inner child. So I love to use essential oils, and the essential oil. So the water element is for your sacral chakra, which is your second chakra, which is your chakra of creativity, but is also for water. And it's about letting go of the stuff that is holding you back. And so inner child's really great. So if you haven't used essential oils, inner child's a really great one for this new moon experience right now. And so also is grapefruit. So last night I did a salt bath, and I got myself in a salt bath, and I poured in my essential oils, and I just sat in it. And salt is cleansing to your aura field and to your energy system. So that could be something that you might want to consider doing tonight or later today, is to allow for yourself to work with these emotions, get in water and use a salt bath and add some essential oils or some rose petals or something like that to give yourself this mothering nature. Again, new moon in Cancer. Cancer is the mother. How do you mother yourself, right? So this is going to bring the spotlight on our personal selves, our inner lives, our emotional lives, as well as on home and family dynamics that we need to address or take care of, but maybe in a new way. Think about it. Think about right now, how do you relate to your family and your home, the people around you? What needs to shift? Maybe you want to share it in the comments. One thing that you're trying to like shift in your emotional or your family life right now, or something that maybe it's not a shift from something bad to something good, like there's no judgment, but maybe it's a shifting of from one level to the next level, right? To that next greater expression. Like, how can I have the most powerful partnership that I've ever had, or the best experience with my children, or business relationships, right? You can even, some people, their careers, that is a family for them. So this new moon, Cancer, which is in her home sign of Cancer, because the sun is there with it, invites us to strengthen our ability to tap into our intuition. And it reminds us the value of giving space to our emotions, of letting our emotions flow, of sitting with our emotions without judging them, without rationalizing them, without attaching a story to them, but feeling them and transmuting them and processing them. I think this is a really powerful thing to think about. How many of you, you've heard this idea of like high vibe, stay high vibe, like really, it's the vibration that you're in. If you stay high vibe, everything's gonna be okay. Well, my belief or my experience is that our emotions are there to teach us. And if we're always just high vibe, we're not actually learning the lessons that we need to use to transmute. So anger can be a really powerful emotion if you learn how to transmute it into passion, into movement, into action, right? And so we want to allow for these experiences to be transmuted and use our emotions. We don't want any spiritual bypassing here. I don't want you going and saying, I'm always happy, I'm always joyful. Like, I am at my inner core peaceful and joyful, like 99.9% of the time, right? That is who I am. But that doesn't mean that I don't feel an emotion or feel mad or angry at times, but that feeling is not the who I am. It is something so I can process. The emotion is a experience of saying, dun, 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 hello, there's something here to pay attention to. And that's what we're focusing on right now. So I want everyone to just take a moment, breathe in. And I want you to just think of one word that expresses what you're feeling right now, the emotion. And then just notice, where do you feel that in your body? There's no judgment, there's no right or wrong, but it just gives you an idea of where you are right now. We can learn to shift this, and we're going to be talking about shifting these things, but share in the comments. I'd love to know, what do you feel? And where do you feel it in your body? Because our emotions get stuck in our body and they create disease, chronic illnesses, pain. I have had people have when they do these timeline shifts and heal an emotional charge that is in the body, have chronic pain disappear overnight. Or the email says, is it possible to have instantaneous healing? I've seen it myself. Instantaneous healing of physical issues, chronic issues, health issues, mental issues, financial issues, relationship issues. We had one of our students that was in our school that went to a retreat with us in Oregon a couple of years ago, who had a tumor in his stomach. And you could feel it. It was hard as a rock. It's a tumor in his stomach. And it literally healed itself in 3 days over that retreat. And so it is possible to have these types of incredible, powerful shifts. But one of the things we have to pay attention to is what are our emotions? How are they holding on to us? Because if we're going to do a timeline shift and hold it, right? I can take you through 1,000 journeys into shifting your timeline and stepping you into your highest destiny timeline. But if you do not stay at the resonant frequency of that timeline, you will pop back out of it. Let me give you an example from my own life. So I held a timeline in my life for a year. And from 2022 to 2023, I had this incredible high destiny timeline. I could see it. I had a partner in that timeline. It was this beautiful experience, and I felt it, and I had the vibration, and I was there, and I was in this experience. And then I met that person that was in that timeline, that partner that I kept seeing in this timeline came into my vibrational experience, and our timelines for that merged. But the vibrational frequency of what happened when he came into that vibration, he wasn't able to hold the vibration. And so, because the old trauma, things that were, were in the way, negative thoughts, beliefs, feelings. And so if we held that vibration in that timeline for a few months, and then things started slipping and things started slipping. Well, here we are 1 year later, and and that partner and I have transitioned our relationship to a friendship, and I've moved to another state and stepped into a completely different timeline. And I'm going to explain to you how I know that happened. But we want to look at, the emotions, the vibrations, the trauma, the things that are holding you back from holding that vibration of the timeline that you want to be in are what is going to keep you from living into that destiny. So this beautiful event of this new moon reminds us of the importance of access to our self-intimacy, our self-connection, to feeling at home within ourselves. So what makes you feel at home within yourself? What makes you feel at home within yourself? We want to create our own unique definition of home. We want to connect with a sense of safety and security that is internal rather than dependent on external circumstances and situations. And so this Cancer is representing this opportunity to allow us to really play with that inner child. Like look and go back to those points and those experiences and say, what is it about that little one that allows me to have this experience, right? How can I play with that little one that is an inside of me that's still running the freaking show, right? It's running the show. So, I mean, in your real life, would you let a 9-year-old run your life today? Or an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old or even a bratty 15-year-old? No, but we are, because that programming is inside of us, and these childhood experiences are creating and keeping us from our highest destiny timeline, keeping us from the places that we are. So we want to be able to see our childhood experiences from a new perspective, in a new light, to explore new ways of connecting, with our family, either our blood family, the family we've created, our chosen family. And so this idea of when we work with timelines, the first thing that I do when I work with somebody in timeline shifting, quantum leaping, quantum jumping, and what we're actually going to be doing in our upcoming quantum jumping mastery course is we go back in and we first go in, work with the inner child, go back and rewrite our past timeline, shift it so that it literally becomes an experience where you may have a memory, but the events are no longer there and they don't affect your lives. It shifts who you are on a complete level. You are going back in and you're rewriting, because in time and space and time, all experiences and all things are existing right now. And I know that's a hard concept to understand, because we see chronological time. Our minds see things in chronologically. And chronological time is great for schedules, for being able to meet people on time when you say you're going to be there, for you to show up to this class, right? We need chronological time to have those things happen. But there's this other time, Kairos time, which is the timing of divine, which is divine timing. It is the timing of synchronicity. It's the timing of the magical and the mystical that allows us, when we play with that, we can use this time to go back in and heal the past. So in our timeline and in the quantum jumping mastery, we go back in and we're healing that piece. And that's what we're going to focus on today, since today is new moon energy and healing the past, is we're going to go back in and work on rewriting a piece of your past story that's in your timeline, that's keeping you from staying in your highest destiny timeline. And then I'm going to tell you how to keep going into that journey to stay in that new timeline. So this beautiful event that we have right now with this new moon, it's an invitation to break generational cycles of suffering and neglect, of scarcity. It's an invitation that reminds ourselves that it is safe to feel and that our sensitivity is not a liability. And why do we want to go in and work on generational cycles? Well, in your DNA and in your energetic field, you hold up to 7 past generations in your field and in your DNA. And so if your great grandmother, grandmother on your father's side had a trauma in their lives or scarcity or something that experience that is passed down. It's like an imprint that is passed down through to you. So for me, I was homeless in 2009. I lived in my car. I had a really bad relationship with money and experiences. And that was because the money and the experiences that I had before that, I had made $1 million previously, but I had done it as a drug trafficker. So my belief system around money, and I was poor growing up as a child. And so my belief system around money, when I walked away from that experience of drug dealing and drug trafficking, I wanted nothing to do with the money because I thought money was bad because money had come to me in this way. And so I then ended up homeless because of that. And so I had to go back in and rewrite my story around money. And I can remember 10 years later in 2014, so that was in 2004 when I walked away. In 2009, I was homeless. In 2014, I remember the first day that I made more money in one day legally in my business than I did in dealing drugs. And it was a huge shift for me because then I was able to see the power of the help that I was helping people, and that money was something that could be a force for good. And so then I started changing my money story at that point, but it took me several years. So this new moon in Cancer is an invitation to remember that we are enough, that we can have enough, that we are worthy of having our needs met and feel nourished. Okay, so let's see. We had some of the feelings. Say, okay, we had feeling it in the throat, fear around the chest, in the heart, in the eyes, around the throat, shame, excitement. Yeah, so all these different things. And there's, and we have fear and shame. Some of them are these feelings. And we see, okay, well, if I have these things in my body and I'm feeling these emotions, then I know that that's a resonant frequency that's in my field, that even if I'm trying to create a highest destiny, even if I'm trying to move towards something, if I'm moving towards that and I keep getting slingshot back to this other place, then what's going to happen? I'm going to keep going back to that old experience. I liken it like this. When I lived in California, if I wanted to send a piece of mail to Florida, right? You put a stamp on the mail, you put the address on it. The address is highest destiny in Florida. And then I mail it. And then I go into worry about, is it going to really happen, or fear or shame around it, or some of those things. And what happens? I jump in my car and I drive to Texas where it's hanging out at the post office, and I grab my highest destiny mail and I bring it back to California and I start over again, because that's what I just did by creating that frequency around those other things. And so one of the things that we do in our timeline journeying is how do I learn to shift the literal feelings and the energy in my body so that it becomes something that, one, it's natural to feel a certain way. Two, that I am aligned and know and have faith that it's going to happen, right? So when I work with someone around shifting a timeline, I want them to, yes, feel the excitement, feel the joy. Like if I'm working with someone, we're going to make 7 figures, right? And this is, oh my God, that's so exciting. That's so amazing. And then I'm like, okay, great. Now, you've got that feeling. Now I want you to tell me, what would it feel like if that was just natural, everyday thing for you? It's just natural. There's a difference in that feeling. It's something that settles in you and you just know. So I want you all to know, do any of you, everyone here, do you have something in your life that you just know in your core and in your body? Like, you know this. If you do, put a 1 in the comments. If you have something that you just know in your body and you know what it feels like, that you know this thing to be true for you. Great. Awesome. Okay. Now, what I want to ask you is, I want you to think about something that you want to create in your future. The reason you're here is because you're here for timeline stuff, right? So that means there's something you want in your future. And now I want you to think of that thing, and I want you to tell me, does it feel the same in your body when you think about it as that number one? If it does, give me a 2. If it doesn't, give me a 3. Does it feel the same when you think about it in the future? And there is why you haven't sat into into your highest destiny timeline and be able to stick there, because it doesn't feel the same. And so that's what we do. That is the work that we want to do. Is first we have to clear the trauma, clear the inner child stuff, clear the stuff from the past that is holding you from keeping in that frequency. And then once you get in that frequency, you have to find that feeling that you had in number one about that thing and hold into that and learn how to solidify that into your system so that it becomes a knowingness. So as many of you know, back in 2022, I walked away from my business. I had a really successful, it was the Intuitive Intelligence Academy. I had a super successful business, and then it went to shit when I had 7 people pass away in my life, and I lost the frequency, and I ended up filing bankruptcy on my business in 2022, a 7-figure business, and walking away from all of it. And I took a year off. Then I took a year and a half off. And then I went through just recently this separation and transition of my relationship, and decided to move out of where I was living and move to Austin, Texas. And when my timeline shifted and I decided to leave for Austin on June 6th, so 1 month ago on the new moon, I was in Tennessee. I was in this beautiful cabin. I was cold plunging in the river behind it. I was hiking, and I drew a line in the sand. And I said, because for the last year and a half, I really haven't done, I've enjoyed sharing things with people. I opened up a mystery school earlier this year, but I only filled it by, I didn't do the marketing. I just was like, here, if you want to do this, I'm going to put it out to people. I wasn't focused on making money. I wasn't focused on getting bigger or sharing my message. I had done all of that. But in June, I decided, I was like, I'm done. I'm going back to having a 7-figure business. I am going to, I'm drawing a line in the sand. And my first goal was, as I said, I'm going to make 100K in 90 days, right? Like that's, I have to have a simple goal. Like I say, set intentions, but this is a simple goal around the business. And I drew a line in the sand, and I said, I have to step back into something completely new. And I'm shifting and I'm moving and I'm doing all of these things. And so I took that time to make that happen. And so we are now 1 month into my line in the sand, and I'm well over and past my line in the sand of 100K in 90 days. Which for me, it wasn't about the money. It was about, like, I'm setting a vibration that says I'm going to be back to 7 figures in the year, and I'm going to do that in this amount of time because I can reach more people. The Reaching More People, our docu-series comes up in September, and we already have over 2 million people that it's going to be going out to. That is because of the partnerships that we have created with that. So this impact that has been created through me drawing a line in the sand and stepping into that. But the thing is when I drew that line in the sand on January 6th, this is where this is going. I didn't get excited about it and be like, oh, I'm going to do this. I knew it was going to happen. I just was like, nope, I know. I felt it in my body. I knew it was going to happen. I knew I had made the timeline shift, and I was just there, and I could feel it in my system. So how can you get to the thing that you want and feel it in your system and know it to be true? That is where we want you to really understand. So the next thing that we're going into with this timeline stuff is our new moon in Cancer. It's what we call squaring, and you don't need to know what that means, but it's squaring these things called the lunar nodes. And this is the key to shifting our timelines. So the lunar nodes, there's a south one and there's a north one. The south one is all about the past. So it's what we come into this lifetime with, the things from our past that we need to shift and heal and learn in this lifetime. So that's the past timeline work. That's the things, whether it's this lifetime or other lifetimes, our south is all about that. And then our north node, our north is about your destiny. It's literally about what you are meant to be doing in this life, your purpose that you are here to experience. And so in timeline mastery, quantum jumping mastery work, you're looking to clear the south node, clear those things so that you can step into the north node. Now, this is where this gets a little tricky, everyone. You may think you have a purpose that you know consciously in your mind, in the universe, your north node, the astrology, your higher self, your soul may have a whole different thing in line for you. And surrender is where that comes. That was me with the Intuitive Intelligence Academy. I built this incredible academy and I was sharing pretty awesome stuff. And then all of a sudden the universe kept telling me, nope, you're done with this. And I was like, no, it's super successful. Why would I be done with this? And so the universe said, oh, you're done with this. And no, I'm not done with this. And so what did the universe do? It ended it for me. I would not have walked away if I had not have had the experience that I had and had all of those things start getting ripped out of me. And so then I was like, well, now what do I do? I went and journeyed. I went and moved to Portugal and I spent a year sitting around, right? So working on myself, doing things, traveling to 13 countries. And in that time, I said, so what, if I'm not supposed to be doing that, how am I supposed to take all of my gifts and all of the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing? I went back to school to get a degree. I'm actually working towards a PhD in the science of consciousness right now. So it brought that to me. I won a writing contest with Hay House to have my book published. High on Life, A Prescription for Bliss comes out in March of next year. Pre-sale goes on in January. That happened, right? And then all of a sudden, I got this downloads about this mystery school. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's where the North Node is saying you're supposed to do this thing. And you're like, no, not going to do that. How many of you have ever had that experience? Put a 2. Okay, I'm getting out. Yes. Okay. Put a 2 in the comments if you know what the hell I'm talking about. You're like, I've had that experience where the universe says I'm supposed to do this thing, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. That was me because I had been channeling for quite a while. I had intuitive work with all of my clients. I know things, I would see things, but they wanted me to start working with these entities and these gods and goddesses, these archetypes, and channel this information. And I was like, I'm not ready for this. I'm going to be like, people are going to look at me weird. This isn't like way beyond anything that I do. And is it really real? Is it really happening? Am I really getting these messages? No, I don't want to do this. So I said, okay, I'm surrendering into my North Node. I'm surrendering into my timeline. If you want me to do this, then you fill the school for me. I literally challenged my soul and my higher self and my guides, all of them, to this. And I said, and if it fills, then I'll do it. And then I'll do a second round, which we have the second round coming out in the fall because it ended up being super successful and we did it. And people had amazing transformations. But I did not go into it willingly. I did not. I was like, who am I? Who am I to do this? And I still kind of feel like, who am I? Now I'm just open to like, just teach whatever you want to teach through, right? Like, okay, here we go. So that's where we're moving in these, working with these nodes, right? And so the North Node right now is in Aries. What is Aries? Aries is about action. Aries is about getting shit done. It's a fire element, right? Like it is, it's really there. And the South right now is in Libra, and Libra is all about balance, right? And so the South Node is also talking about our karma, our repetitive patterns, the cycles we get stuck in, right? So that's all that timeline stuff that we want to clear and heal. I have cleared in the last, that's why I was able to shift into a new timeline this past June, which was in a resonant frequency with my old timeline, but just a little bit different, but and higher. But I was able to do that because the final pieces of my karma, like I actually was given, Ra came in and gave me a golden path and a golden row and said, you finally did it. Because I honestly sat down and was like, honestly, I said, did I have to do it all in this lifetime? Do I really need any more shit to go through? When I went through this experience where, the love of my life, someone I had loved for 25 years, that I had to finally just let them go. And I was like, I'm done. I'm over it. And they're like, this was your final test. I had to heal the karma that had come through for thousands of lifetimes, and the pattern and the cycle that I was stuck in, that last little piece. So you want to do that. You want to break that piece for yourself, that unconsciousness, right? The compulsions, so that you can evolve both emotionally and spiritually. And this is what's stuck in that old timeline. Most of this stuff is unconscious. I didn't even know I had shit still holding on. Right? Like how many of you say, I know I want this thing, but I'm not getting it, but I'm not even sure anymore what it is that's holding me back because I haven't been able to figure it out yet. Yeah, right. I see people shaking their heads. Yeah, exactly. And that's where we're at. So the with these planets that are, squaring these nodes, it allows us to give awareness of our developmental moons, no, wounds, places where we get repetitively stuck. How many of you have noticed, I call it a harmonic point. So in my book, High on Life, A Prescription for Bliss, there's a whole chapter on what I call harmonic points. Harmonic points can show up in this lifetime and through lifetimes. How many of you have been in the same relationship, the same experience at a job, the same, and you see the pattern over and over, but you're stuck in it and you haven't figured it out. If that's you, put a 5 in the chat. Like you're like, I know that I have this pattern that keeps showing up. I date the same person all of the time, or I have these things these are those things that it's showing us a way. How do I get out of that pattern? And then finally allow myself to break free. And so it could be the places where we're sometimes frozen in time, whether it's an emotional or a psychological process that was interrupted early on, or even in a previous lifetime. So this allows us to really look into these things and say, there's these harmonic aspects that will allow us to completely shift. So we want to allow ourselves to kind of, move into that next step, these next things. And so the other thing with the sun and the moon both being in Cancer is it's a really, really emotional, moody time, right? Like it really highlights everything emotional, our need for connection, for love, for intimacy. But this is our ability to share, to ask for what we need. How many of you are really good at asking for what you need? Okay, right? So I want you to ask yourself right now, what is it that you fear is going to happen if you ask for something that you need from someone? I want to hear in the comments because this is really powerful. What do you fear? What keeps you? Is it just the fear of a no, or is it something more? Pride. Oh, pride. I didn't even think of that. Okay. Being told I should know how to do it or that I'm stupid. Okay. Wow. Yeah. See, these are powerful. What else? They will leave me. Validation of inadequacy. These are really powerful, right? Like, and look at it. This is a collective thing. This is everybody. Unless you've healed this, I know rejection. I know that it took me a long time to ask for help, a long time. But let me reframe this for you for a minute. Is there anything that you've ever gotten in your life that hasn't come through someone else? Think about it. You were born through someone else. You were fed through someone else. The food that you eat is made by someone else or grown by someone else. Every single thing, every day, on a level we don't even think about, we are needing help. Your AC in your house doesn't run by you running it, right? It's helping you. And so when it becomes the things that are important to us, all of the sudden it's like, I'm not worthy, or I don't have someone there, or I don't. And if you literally don't have someone there that you can ask, Renee, you do, you have all of us. Renee's in our mystery school, and she said, just said, I don't have a group that I ask. You always have a group you can ask. It's, are you willing to ask? Yeah, Barbara's over there saying me right there. Listen, I've been there, and I'll tell you, like, let me tell you how this worked out for me. So summer solstice, I'm in the process of moving. I've just gone through a separation. I was going to cancel the event. It was a live 2-day retreat. All of these things were going to happen, and somehow I decided that I was going to go ahead and do it. So what did I have to do? Because I didn't have somebody any longer there that was going to support me and help me with it. And I didn't have a team right now because I actually just hired a couple people this past week. But I had taken all that time off. I wasn't doing any, the business thing, right? And so I saw a friend and I was like, can we do it at your beautiful, mansion vortex in Atlanta? She said yes. Now, imagine if I hadn't asked her what, my electricity just went out. Okay. Thank goodness that this thing runs with electricity. Wow, that was crazy. Okay, there's a lot of energy here. I don't know if I did that or not, but it just came back on. All right, wonderful. But imagine this. If I hadn't asked my friend to be able to do the retreat at her place, I wouldn't have had that retreat. After this retreat was over, when my electricity went out, I lost the Wi-Fi. All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to me. Okay, so what was I talking about? Let me go back to I just completely lost group. All right, anyways, we're going to oh yes, the house, the retreat. So at the summer solstice, if I hadn't have asked for her help after the retreat was over, I had more than one person tell me that they had a complete and literal shift in their life and they were a new person. They would have not had that opportunity if I hadn't have asked for help. And then on top of that, the beauty of what happened after that was I decided to do another one for the autumn equinox, and is actually going to be here in Austin. And one of the attendees who's part of our mystery school messaged me after that and said, hey, I know you really struggled with the summer solstice. Can I offer to be your person for the autumn event? And I'll take care of everything so that you can just come in and do your genius, because I want to give back. So see the power of what happens when you ask. I was going through it. I wasn't able, I screwed some stuff up trying to get the thing that happened because there was so much stuff going on in my life, and I just asked for help, and that help changed people's lives and then brought me more help for the next round and allowed me to offer an experience to people that do it. So what is holding you back from asking for help? Because what if on the other side of you asking for you receiving, it is transformative for others? Because everything that you want or need in life, I can guarantee you there's a ripple effect that when you're taken care of, when you are doing and living into your highest destiny timeline, when you're receiving and asking for help, it ripples out to everyone around you. So you're not just doing it for yourself. So think of it like this. If you can't ask for help for yourself, maybe you start to do it first by asking for help because it's going to help someone else, right? Like you can play that game a little bit. And that's a really powerful and good way to think about it. So another aspect that we have going on right now in the astrology is Saris. So Saris is another facet of the mother archetype. So Ceres gives us information about how we experience care and nurturance, and how others took care of us in the past, and consequently, how we tend to take care of both ourselves and other people. So now I want you to think about this inability to ask for help, or this inability to receive, if that's the challenge, and think, where did you learn that? Did you learn it growing up? Did you have a mom that was self-sacrificing? Did you see it as a good thing to always give and not receive? Were you told as a child that if you asked for things, it was bad, shut up and always be quiet? Again, this goes into our past. And so Ceres is about is how we relate to loss and grief and the cycles and the seasons of our lives, and she's also connected to our relationship to food and what nourishes us, and both in a literal sense and a metaphorical one. And so we want to look at these things and say, okay, now I'm starting to see the lineage. Like, now do we know why we got to heal all that stuff in our timeline in our past so that we can then, make this movement forward? Yes. Yeah. So I've been running a really long time, and I could go into, there's a bunch of other really cool stuff going on with Neptune in retrograde and Saturn in retrograde. But I know that some of you are probably going to have to drop off soon. I know there's a long day to go. So what I want to do is I want to give you an experience. We're going to go in, we're going to do some work into our past timeline. And after that, what I want you to do is I want you to stay on, because I'm going to tell you about how you can get your personalized experience with me, where I'm gonna give away a few of those, and I'm gonna tell you exactly how to do that, and I'm gonna tell you more about quantum jumping and how you can take this piece and apply it with time bending. So time bending is about compressing time, right? So how do I manifest something in a shorter amount of time? Or time bending, I use it to always be on time. I use it because sometimes I leave late for stuff and I'm still always on time, right? Like how you can use time to compress things, how we work with Kairos time and Chronos time, and how you can take this energy, because we're in the summer right now. And if you really want to quantum leap your life by the end of the year, timeline shifting and quantum jumping is going to be the key to drawing the line in the sand like I did, right? It's going to be the way to allowing yourself to just stop and say, okay, I'm ready for something new, and I know it. I'm a one for this new destiny. I am a one for that. Okay, so I want you to all, I would normally put on background music, but I have a feeling that there's something going on earlier when I did that. So I'm not going to put on anything in the background. It's just going to be me. We're just going to take a journey together through into experience. So I want you to think of something right now that's a challenge in your life, or something that is you feel is holding you back, or and you may not know the cause of it. You may not know where it's coming from. That doesn't matter. What I want you to do is I just want you to think of, and maybe you don't know what's holding you back from your highest destiny. So maybe that's not what you're focusing on. Maybe you're just focusing on this thing right now today, because you'll be surprised at what the journey will take you. Get a little comfortable, and we're going to take you on a simple journey into going into your past to rewrite a story or rewrite something in the quantum reality so that it can shift. Okay. Just let me know when you're all ready, and let's make sure you're there. Oh, so Tiffany said she had ADHD. She said she was told she was rude. Okay, yeah. Martyr mom. Yep. Yeah, see? Such a beautiful, beautiful, noticing of like, where do these things come from? Most of the stuff we're holding on to is not even our own shit. I was holding on to anger for years, and it turned out it was not mine. It was my dad's. My dad was a very, very angry man before he passed away, and for most of his life. So, and I held on to that. Okay, here we go. So let's just start breathing deep. Just take a few deep breaths deep into your belly, allowing that air to just circulate down into your pelvis, into the pelvic bowl, down into the root chakra, into that sacral chakra, that place of emotion. settling into this moment and into this time. And now we're just going to start to drop down into Mother Gaia. So imagining that you have beautiful tree trunks and roots growing from your feet, from your root chakra, from you, grounding you down in, shooting down into Mother Gaia. And you're just going to drop a beautiful silver cord from your heart all the way down through your lower chakras, the physical chakras, and down into Mother Gaia. And on your next breath in, I want you to start to breathe up the energy of this consciousness, of this beautiful energy of Mother Gaia, the nutrients, the minerals, the coppers and the golds and the browns and the greens of nature, pulling that energy up as you ground yourself into the energy of Mother Gaia, opening up to her wisdom, feeling supported and loved. Grounding is the most important thing that we can do when we're grounding into this work. So many times we are ungrounded. And if you want to create, if you want to live into your highest destiny, if you want to be in that spiritual realm or that next place, it must be rooted in your physical body and in reality. There's actually physical practices you can do to experience this. But right now, just see, feel, notice yourself like the trunk of a tree, and you're just grounding into the ground. And then from that, you're breathing that energy up. It is coming up through your feet and your knees and your legs, all the way up through your hips, up through your body, and just coming into the center of your heart. And now on your next breath out, I want you to breathe up through your upper chakras, sending a silver cord up through your throat, your third eye, out your crown, and all the way into the highest point of light that you can find, through your soul star, all the way up into the God field. Just opening and allowing your pillar of light, your central channel, to start to open as beautiful moonstone, rainbow platinum energy, divine love starts to pour down through your body and through your crown and into your center of your head and all the way into your heart. And in this center, you create that beautiful yin yang symbol, as above, so below. The masculine and feminine unite, pulling these two energies together within you. And then with the parts of you that know how, and asking your soul and your higher self to come in to guide you on this, to just start to see the timeline that is your life. Just notice where the future is and where the past is. And you're standing right there on this moment of now. You might start to notice or see or feel this current timeline that you're on. It may feel thick or thin or sparkly or light. And I want you to just stand towards your past. You may get a feeling or noticing. You may not quite know how to visualize this yet, and that's okay. Some people have a hard time visualizing in the beginning, but I have a super simple technique that I teach people that will never question that you can visualize again. But right now, just notice, sense, feel with your body, with your emotions, kinesthetically, with your mind, and just look towards your past. And just start to think of this challenge and this problem that you have in your life. Now we're going to take a magic carpet ride. So just hopping on this beautiful magic carpet and allowing the parts of you that know how, your subconscious, that higher self, to ask to take you to the first event or the experience that created this problem in your life. So just allow yourself to travel back now, back, down, all the way into the past. into this first event or experience that first created the thought that created this challenge in your life. You may just get a sense or a knowing, or you may see a full-blown scenario and scene, and just notice. How old are you? Who are you with? What's happening? And now we're just going to allow that younger you, that little one, to come up onto this magic carpet with you, up onto this place high above this event. And you look down there at that event. What is one resource, one thing that if this little one knew or had, that would completely have changed this experience for them? Maybe they just needed to be hugged, or they needed to know they were loved, or that they were powerful, or that they were beautiful. They just needed to be picked up. What is it? I want you to just imagine that that little one is sitting here with you now. Start to fill up in your own body with that knowingness, that resource, that emotion, that feeling of what that little one needed back then. Start to dial it up until it's like an 8 or a 9 or a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Really feel it in your body. And then I want you to just start to grow your body smaller and smaller and slighter and slighter. And I want you to feel with this feeling in your body. I want you to step into that little one. Put your heart space where its heart space is, your fingers and your finger slots, and your toes and your toe slots, and start to breathe as them. Breathing in this knowingness, breathing in this resource, all the way to their bones and their body and their DNA, to the very tips of their toes, all the way through their energetic field. And now, with this new sense and this new feeling, just start to dial that up in that little one. At first, it might feel like oil mixing water. It might feel like there's something happening or something going on. Just allow and breathe this into this little one. And then with this new knowingness in the body, I want you to drop yourself right back down inside that event with your higher self right there with you, to be there with you, to guide you. And now in the reality of your quantum world, with this new knowingness, you get to rewrite this experience. You get to make up the new ending. You get to heal and understand and learn. So maybe you take a moment and you speak to the other people at the event. What is it? What is the positive learning so I can heal this now? What else is true? Along with this beautiful experience with your higher self there, I want you to walk through this scenario and this event and rewrite it into an experience in a way that aligns with this new experience. If you could make up and imagine anything happening, the brain and the mind and do not know the difference between imagination and reality, you can rewrite this in the quantum field and it will change your experience in your timeline through the future. Walk through this scene and shift it. What is the new ending? What is the knowingness, the feeling? Just take as long as you need. I'll be breathing here along with you. I'm gonna give you a few moments of this, and then I'll be back to take you on the next part of this journey into shifting this timeline for all space and time. What does this little one now know to be true? So now that you've recreated this seed, given it a new ending, I want you to now start to, you're going to take a journey with your little one all the way back from that moment to now. And two things are going to happen. First, you're going to take the hand of that little one and your higher self is going to be there with you. And the three of you together are going to walk along the timeline that is your life, all the way from that experience back to now. And inside that little one, this beautiful ball, this resource, this glowing light of knowingness is going to start to grow and get bigger and brighter till it encompasses all of you in your entire energetic field. And along the way, you're going to catch up on the new meanings your life is making. So the events of your life might not have changed, but the meaning you are making about yourself along the way will have changed quite drastically. So take as long as you need to catch up on those new meanings, stop at any point along the timeline of your life, of those events, until you get all the way back till now. And I'll be right here with you. And when you get back to today, to now, put a 2 in the comments so that I know that you're back with me. You want those of you that have already come back, if you want to share in the chat, like an aha or what you noticed or what your little one experienced while we're waiting for the rest of the people to just join us. Awesome. So that journey that we went on is just a very short, abbreviated piece of what we do in our quantum jumping mastery. Just wanted to give you a taste of what it's like. We actually use quantum frequencies and go in and dive in deeper to this experience on all levels. So not only are we going back in and working with that inner child and healing those past timelines, but you're literally learning how to rewrite the past and then master the art of quantum jumping and time bending. You heal and rewrite your past stories. You expand your consciousness to align with your true purpose. You learn to master time compression so that you can manifest what you really want, right? And so the quantum jumping mastery, it's more than just a course. It's really a journey of self-discovery and transformation. It's an opportunity to become the architect of your own life, to do what I said, like, right, how do I become the one in my life for the thing that I'm trying to step into in my destiny, right? Shape your destiny according to your deepest desires. So when we align our intentions with, the universal flow, time bends to our creation, to our manifestations. And so we have to heal our past, then we have to set clear intentions, then we have to foster an unwavering belief and takes inspired action. And that accelerates us towards our goals. It's really about harmonizing both our inner and our outer worlds and creating a resonance that attracts to what we seek. So think of it like this. How many of you really love music? Are you music people out there? When you put two guitars in a room at opposite ends and you strum the string on one guitar, the guitar at the other one, what will it do? It will vibrate, it will resonate at the same frequency. That's what we're doing with this. And I'll get deeper into the science of this in that, but when I talk about why do people get stuck in an experience where their timelines are like this? Because we have what's called octaves. We have octaves, like our chakras are octaves, right? Each of them has a note that goes with it. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then do, what starts over at the next octave. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We have those octaves. You're living in your timeline in an octave. And so your octave, you may have 8 notes in this octave, but if you want to jump to a whole new one, and this is where I'll explain to you, I want to tell you guys like how I know this to be true. In 2014, I stepped into a quantum reality experience where I stepped into my future and I saw myself on my 40th birthday in Bali. Now in 2014, I didn't know what Bali was. I saw myself in Bali on this beautiful island. I had all these people around me and there was fireworks going off. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. But I stepped into it. And what we teach in time jumping is retrocausality. Instead of us manifesting from here in this moment and creating something in the future, you go into the future and it pulls and grabs you towards it. It's called retrocausal. You can look it up, the scientific term of retrocausal, and they've scientifically proven it. There are actual studies where they use retrocausality to go back in and heal people in the past. It's fascinating, right? So I stepped into this future. In 2017, on my 40th birthday, I was in Bali. Not because I planned to be there. I'd forgotten about that experience. I didn't even remember it happened. I actually had one of my friends have to tell me afterwards that I had had this experience because she was there in 2014. I was in Bali. I was at a place called Tanah. And I saw a visceral shift in my life, and the whole planet went like this. And I was sitting in, and then you could see the ocean. Yeah, I was in the Indian Ocean. Tanah is a temple in the Indian Ocean. And I was sitting there and I saw this visceral shift. And I was handed this staff. And I didn't know what the staff meant at that time. I had no idea. I didn't find out till years later. And I was in Egypt what it meant. But I had this visceral shift. And that evening, there was a party on the island for my birthday. There was a chef there that cooked for all of these wonderful, amazing people that came to celebrate my birthday. And there was fireworks. It was mind-blowing. But what's even more mind-blowing than that is what happened afterwards. So in 2004, those of you that know, I left Columbus, Ohio, because I was an international drug trafficker and I escaped with barely my life and going to prison. And I left everything behind, including my child. And after 2000, and I'm talking, I didn't have baby pictures, baby books. I didn't have shit. I left everything behind. I escaped. I went to go heal my life and I left everything behind. In 2017, after I had that timeline shift, I got a phone call 3 months later from a friend in Florida. Now, mind you, I left Ohio and moved to Florida with nothing. I got a friend in Florida that called me and says, I have a box in my garage that I've been carrying around for you for over 10 years. Do you want it? I was like, oh, I must have been clothes or something that I left behind. She was a friend of mine from 2004 to like 2007. We had lost touch. I hadn't talked to her in years. And I was like, sure. And so I went to Florida when I moved from Florida to California in 2017. I got my car and everything. And I picked up this box and I put it in my trunk and I took it out to California and I put it in the garage. In 2018, I opened this box and it was baby pictures, all of my writing. I'd been a published author before I'd gotten out of school. All of my writings that I'd misplaced, all the stuff that hadn't been published, all these things that I was touted to be the next great author, whatever. Baby books, love letters from my partner that was the love of my life, who was the reason I'd gotten in, you know, that when it happened, when we broke up, I got into drug trafficking, who was actually the partner that just came back into my life last year that we're now separated again. All of these things, because of that timeline shift, this memory box, I shifted into a timeline where my future self, my former self, had brought this memory box into my life so I could have these memories from my childhood. This didn't exist. It wasn't something that I had. If you find that to be a little woo-woo, let me try this one for you. So in 2017, when I did that shift, all of my likes and interests changed. I was a lesbian, married to a woman. I left in 2015. And all of a sudden, I started growing my hair out. My likes, my interests changed. My clothing changed. Everything changed. It started 2019. Obviously, you know, I started dating men again, and I'm, you know, in a partnership with, you know, a male. But what's even more crazy is I've done more timeline shifts to the point where my passport didn't work anymore. I physically, the biometrics of my face changed. And it's not because I'm the same weight that I've always been. So it wasn't, I didn't gain or lose weight, anything like that. I was literally told that I had to get a new passport because my face had changed so much from 2016 when I had gotten my passport that I was no longer able to use it. It was also, my book was completely full and I could not use it. But I got stopped in Hong Kong because my biometrics, and this was just here in 2024, on my way back from Bali in March, I got stopped in Hong Kong because my passport did not match my biometrics on my face. This stuff is real. It's powerful stuff. And so what I would like for those of you that are interested and want to stay on and have some time, I'm going to tell you about the Quantum Jumping Mastery course that is coming up it comes up in 2 weeks, July 22nd. So if you want to stay on and hear about it, if that's okay, please just say yes or put a 1 in the comments, because I don't want anybody that doesn't want to be a part of it. You can go, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm going to tell you through this course and then how you can get these sessions with me as a gift. Okay. So this beautiful, wonderful, amazing course, I have only ever offered through my mystery school, meaning that you have to be in the mystery school to learn about my timeline work, or with private clients. And I've done a short weekend experience, but I want to offer it to everyone. So the Quantum Timeline course is going to allow you to get out of your own way so that you can step into your highest destiny. Not only are you going to work on learning how to vibrate at the resonant frequency of your highest destiny, you're going to learn how to use quantum reality, Chronos and Kairos time. So if you always feel like you're overworked, or you're running out of time, or that everyone else is already there, wherever there is for you, right? Or maybe you don't have enough time in the day. Do you ever feel like you're on Groundhog Day and you're like, I wake up every day and I do the same thing, but I can't ever figure out, how do I get to that next thing? You just don't have enough time to move towards your vision. You know, maybe you're wondering, am I really meant to have the dreams that I'm meant to have? Am I worthy of them? You know, maybe you're just hoping that the universe is going to just drop something out of the sky for you and into your lap, but you're not resonating at the frequency for that to happen. I do believe in the law of attraction. I do believe that you can have things drop out of the sky and they will just show up for you, but not if you're not in alignment with it, right? So if you're waiting for that correct moment, but you have a vision, but you have no idea how you're going to manifest it, right? And the daily life of your routine is overwhelming, then this is the kind of course that you want to get into. We're going to spend this time together so that you can reduce your anxiety, your stress, your overwhelm, your lack of clarity and focus. And you're going to go into a place where you're going to heal that past stuff. We're going to go deeper into the past. We're going to journey into the future. I'm going to teach you retrocausality, which means just like I did in 2014, when I stepped into my future and then it created itself and I shifted timelines to where I was in Bali in 2014 and my whole life changed that day. You're going to learn how to step into this quantum reality, how to use the quantum field, the elevator, right? The steps of the elevator so that you can change the quantum codes on your key card so you can access another freaking floor. How many of you want to access another floor? How many of you are ready to access another floor? Put a 3 in the comments if you're saying, I want to access another floor. Yeah, right? It is time, all of us. And I'm telling you, if you are here because you want to access another floor, it is because you have a purpose that you are meant to be giving out to the world. And you are not quite there yet. I thought I was living on purpose in 2017. I thought I was living on purpose in 2022. And those were really great. And I was close. And I'd helped at that point 10,000 people. I'd spoke on stages all over the world. I've been on over, at this point, probably have spoken over 1,000 times. My mouth and jaw get tired sometimes. I've spoke for thousands of people. So this quantum jumping timeline, the mastery course, is going to be the first time that I'm ever offering it this way. And get it before it goes out, because guess what? I'm doing this course because Humanity's team, who I have partnered with, is taking this course for themselves. They are putting it on their streaming platform that goes out to millions of people. And so I'm giving you the opportunity to get to it before I teach the course. You're kind of my guinea pigs, actually. No, I've taught it in this way, but you're going to get to see what I am sharing with the world through Humanity's team. So I want you to get to a place where you feel like you are fulfilled, right? If you are unfulfilled, it's all about fulfillment, right? There's a time where we have to say, am I going to quit on my dream? Or am I ready to make it happen? How many of you have ever felt like, well, maybe I'm just not good enough, or maybe my dream is unattainable? How many of you have ever felt like giving up? Or like, what's wrong with me? Why is it that everybody else seems to get what they want and I don't? Why can't I have what I want? I know I've felt that. I have felt that many, many, many times. And yet I have a breakthrough each time. I know that what I know to be true now is that I live a life where I get to watch the sunset. I watch the sunrise. Everything gets done with ease. I have flow. I have flexibility. I get downloads and insights. How many of you would love to get new skills and gifts and downloads like as if overnight? Like they come to you because you're in a new timeline and these things all of a sudden just show up. Or new career opportunities, or synchronistic relationships, or heal that freaking illness or chronic disease that you wanted to heal. Now, let me explain to you how this works when it comes to physical ailments. They have scientifically proven this. So this is not some woo-woo bullshit, right? So multiple personality disorder. They have proven that one person in the same body, depending on which personality they are in multiple personality disorder, will have different diseases in their body. They will have diabetes in this personality, but this personality does not. They have done blood tests, physical tests on the person. So what does that mean for you? That means that your consciousness, your quantum key code card that you're currently living on is the reason you have the illness that you had. I had eczema over my whole body. I had 5 herniated discs. I don't have herniated discs anymore. right? I shifted timelines and I shifted my physical body too, because I live in a different consciousness than I did before. I have a client who she was, works at 9 to 5. So you're like, well, how can I really get more time in my day? Well, she works at 9 to 5. And when she started implementing these practices and taking more time for herself in the morning, what if you could add 3 hours of you time to your day? How cool would that be? She started adding in time for herself in the morning. And guess what? She had more time throughout the day. She's like, I don't understand how this works. She's like, what's happening? She's like, because the universe is aligning with you and things happen easier. The answers show up, the downloads come in. You get to have those things. You get to understand and understand that. How many of you have like a home that you're dreaming of building, or a place that you want to travel, or a thing that you want to do that you're like, I just can't figure out how to make that happen? When you step into a new timeline and you learn how to stay in it, because I guarantee you, like, I've done timeline shifting stuff where I do these short 45-minute shifts for people, right? And unless they do the work to stay at the resonant frequency in the new octave. So this is going to teach you too, how do I implement daily action and practices that are going to allow me to stay aligned to the new me. So that's what we're doing. How many of you are like, hell yes, that sounds like something that I would want to do? Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay, awesome. So here, I'm going to tell you exactly what we're doing, and then how you can, let me share my screen, and then how you can get your personalized thing with me. So the quantum jumping mastery is super simple. I'm doing it in an easy way. It's 4 weeks. Oh, let me go back. It's a 4-week experience. So it starts July 22nd, and you're going to have 4 weekly experiences where you're going to go in and you're going to learn the processes, learn those things together. So you're going to have these processes, you get to keep them forever. You're going to implement them. So these modules are not just something where you go in and you're like, I'm just going to listen to another thing. No, there's action items. There's ways to raise your frequency. There's movements to do. There's things that you're going to do that are going to allow you to activate time mastery and time bending and quantum jumping in your life. And then what you're going to do is we're going to have 2 live 2-hour sessions where we're going to, one at the beginning and one at the end, where we're going to implement all of this stuff into your life so that you can stay at that resonant frequency. You're going to learn these processes. So this is going to be an experience where over these periods of time, you're going to keep practicing and learning. And during the 4 weeks together, you'll be a part of our group where we have a platform where you're going to be sharing. I'm going to be in there talking. I'll be doing daily experiences. I'll be giving you things to try out, right? This is going to be an interactive experience. You're going to learn the science behind it, but you're also going to learn the movements behind it and the pieces to that. So that's the main course. That is what you're getting. That's where we're going to spend. So you can shift. My goal is for you to come in as one person and to leave as another. And I have seen it time and time again, and I know that it's possible. Some of the bonuses that I'm adding for that is part of staying in the frequency of a new timeline is to rewire your DNA and your brain. So bliss consciousness and divine DNA. So I'm going to give you my bliss consciousness and divine DNA deep dive so that you can use that on a frequent basis to keep yourself, your brain, and your DNA at a new level and a new frequency. So you're going to learn these processes and you're going to learn how to keep yourself into that. You're also going to get our quantum jumping frequency journey, which is something that I like to, when you're solidifying into a new timeline, you put in the double ears and you're going to listen. It is a frequency created specifically for this work, where I take you through a journey and into this space where you're living into that higher experience. The other piece to this is, and there's only 5 of these available. This is where you can get that personality test. So I have 5 of them available because that's all I'm going to have time to do. On top of this, and it's only on the call today. So if you do it on the call today, once this is over and the replay goes out, sorry guys, you weren't here live, you can't get this. And there's only 5 available. You get a personalized second half of 2024 intuitive astrological reading and personalized quantum frequency audio. So I use something called the AO scanner. And I will create a personalized quantum frequency audio for you. And I will do a astrological, I'll get your information and I'll do a complete intuitive reading. You can ask anybody that's had them done before. They're pretty powerful and amazing. So for today, the price for this is $222 or 4 payments of $55. The option for that here, I'm going to go, oh, why is it not working? There we go. So you can either take up your cell phone, screenshot the QR code, or put in bit.ly/timeline shifts. When you go over there, there's options for you to break it down into 4 payments. If you need a 4 by 55 payment plan, here is a couple of things from a couple of our students in our past courses that have done our timeline work, right? So Becky says, since starting the timeline shifting work, I've noticed some remarkable changes. My figure seems to be changing slightly. I've also been experiencing previous memories as if I'm watching myself from a distance. I feel more sacred. I'm becoming more aligned with my truth, and I'm definitely trusting myself and my intuition more and more. Molly says, since starting the timeline work, my life has dramatically shifted. I landed a new job that aligns perfectly with my passions, unlike my previous role of 10 years. The relief is immense, and I feel so much lighter. I truly believe the universe played a big part in this, and I'm incredibly grateful for the teachings and support. This is the miracle I've been waiting for. And dun, 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 I have several of our students on the call. If any of you want to come up and share about your experiences with this work, for any of those that might have any questions. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. I will happily answer any questions that you have. Let me see if I can find. Here, I'll put the link in the thing for you also. Hold on. Here you go. Here is the link in the, I'll put that in the chat for those of you that are interested. And then I'm going to take your questions, any questions that you have. And okay. Here is the link also in the chat for those of you. I want to open it up for questions, and then also for Barbara or Renee or any of you that are in our mystery school that have done some of this timeline work. If you want to share some of your experiences. Let's see where the questions are. Curious to know if you also felt like you looked different as your, yeah, oh, I absolutely look different, Tiffany. So here's another thing with me looking different. If you look at my pictures here, let me even show you. I'm going to share a picture with you guys from last year. This is 1 year ago. I've always had stick straight hair. Stick straight hair. I mean, stick straight to the point it doesn't hold a curl, stick straight hair. This is naturally curly now. This is a picture from 1 year ago. 1 year ago. My hair was not flat ironed for this. 1 year ago. Straight hair. And I now have curly hair. And I'm talking curly, like not just curly, but curly. Like this is like nuts curly. Like this is like, I don't even know where it came from curly. I've never had curly hair in my life until now. So yes, I noticed the changes in my own physical self, in my hair, in my body. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, guys. It's been a wild ride. So let me see, I'm trying to get back down to the questions. I don't know, did I just freeze again? All right, well, yeah, I froze. This is lovely. Oh, there we go. I think there we go. Okay. No, I know no, my computer was frozen. I couldn't get it to tap anything. So, Barbara, I am going to, no, yeah, no, I can't tap on anything. Well, I can talk. I can talk, but I can't use my computer. So you can hear me, but I am incapable of opening up the chat. I am incapable of just doing anything at all except speaking. This is interesting. Been one of those days. I had to shut down my computer more than once. today, even before we started this morning. So everything happens for a reason, right? Well, anyways, I wish I could answer your questions, but I literally can't tap on anything to even see the questions. It's not letting me do a thing. So the link is in the chat. If you have a question that I didn't answer, please email me, Melissa@MelissaMinich, MELISSAMINNICH.com, since I can't answer your questions live. And again, remember, there's only 5 spots available and they're only on the call. So go over there now if you want one of the personalized experiences and join. And of course, if you're in the mystery school, you're watching the replay and you're in the mystery school, you already know that you get a discount. Check your email for your discount code for the timeline course, because we teach timelines in the mystery school. So you guys get a discount on the offer. Okay. All right. All right. I love you all. I can't do anything else. Bye, everyone. I'll shoot you out an email. Thank you so much for coming today. You're so beautiful.